Got to eat here. Howdy, ma'am. How you doing today?
Hot, and I don't mean the good kind. So what don't you want?
Pardon?
What don't you want?
Oh, well, I think I'll just,
You know, I've been working here for 44 years. Ain't nobody ever ordered nothing but T-bone steak and a baked potato. Except this one asshole from New York tried to order trout back in 1987. We don't sell no damn trout.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Let's listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And in this video, we're going to break down the text messages, and they are very, very telling. And there is some glaring things in there that I'm going to point out in this. I haven't listened to anybody else talk about the text messages. I tried to listen to other people talk about even the 911 call transcript, and I was like, come on. I mean, if you really want to understand the 911 call transcript, I mean, you literally have to watch my video because it's just amazing to me. But let me tell you right now, it's almost overwhelming because of all of the information that's come out. And really, we're on a timetable right now because you see all of these motions in limine that have been filed. They contain a vast amount of information. I just went through one that most people probably aren't even looking at right now, and it's I'm not even going to say because it provided so much information and a lot of insight into how the state is going to try to create a nexus between the victims and Kohberger. And the way they're going about doing it, I mean, it's a way you could provide a nexus between anybody that lived in a general area with other people over a period of time. So, but I've got to go through that, and I'm going to have to plug it on maps, and it's just a lot of information. But the reason I say we're on a timetable is because you got to understand these are the initial filings for the motions in limine. On the 17th of this month, just 10 days from now, the prosecution and the defense are going to file their replies to the motions in limine. That's going to be another mountain of information that's coming our way. And then just 10 days after that is the deadline for the responses. There might be the responses, then the replies. I get those mixed up. But that'll be another mountain of information. And then we have the hearing, another mountain of information. So we can get lost in the, in the bale of hay, looking for all the needles if we don't really dive in right now and try to pick it apart. So it's a lot of information. I'll be bringing it to you as I put it together. And I've gone through the one that I'd been really waiting on, which was the defense's motion to preclude the death penalty. And some of the things that are written in that are mind-blowing. So I'll bring that one to you tomorrow. I know I still haven't got on to the one with with all the additional DNA. I think the motion to preclude the death penalty is telling as it relates to alternate suspects and why there should be so many people in there as far as their DNA. But we'll leave that for later. In this one, we are getting into these text messages by the roommates. And let's just get into the breakdown, shall we? Okay, so what we have here is the sealed redacted not sealed anymore, just redacted. State's motion in limine, RE text messages and testimony. Now, when I get things right, you know, I'm pretty quick to admit I got it right. When I get things wrong, I am the same way. I said that the state, when I was going through all of the motions in limine, and I put in there whether they were to exclude or include on both the text messages and the 911 call, I predicted that those were motions to exclude, not include. So the fact that the state actually was wanting to include that 911 call in these text messages is, well, for one thing, I was wrong about that. So I want to admit that first of all, but the other thing is it's perplexing to me why they would want this admitted into evidence, especially after what I showed you yesterday in the transcript of the 911 call. But there's even more glaring things in this that I don't know. Is the state might need, to go back to school or something. I don't know. But we're talking about the motion in limine allowing the state to admit the text messages of DM and the testimony from DM and BF regarding their conversations with each other on November 13th. Now, the phone records were discovered on the hard drive. DM iPhone extraction provided on April 5th, 2023 in State Exhibit 18 from the grand jury record. Now, if y'all remember, and I brought this up in a video a long time ago, got a little pushback, but the PCA said that there was a download of records from DM and BF's phones. And remember, the PCA was back December 29, 2022. This is saying April 5th, 2023. But it said that they pulled the messages from a download of records from BF and DM's phones that helped determine the time of the atrocity. And it's perplexing to me now that they're saying on April 5th, 2023 is where they actually discovered these records. Now, I made the statement back then that the fact that they had to download the records to even get these text messages, I thought was odd, and it led me to believe maybe they had deleted them. But now looking at the fact that they had to go all the way through to April 5th, 2023 to do a complete phone extraction to get these messages tells me they certainly didn't just, this wasn't a Snapchat where they disappear. These were text messages, and they didn't find them until they got this download of her phone. So not only are all these texts very odd, but it is my firm belief that they had been deleted by DM. Why would she delete her text? And what other conclusion could you come to if the only way they gathered these texts was from this phone extraction on April 5th, 2023? So there is your first red flag right there. She deleted them. And you know they got that phone that day. They didn't let her keep her phone and get it later. They got it that day. So that means she deleted them before they ever got there for the 911 call. Stew on that for a minute. But it talks about the testimony of DM and BF was provided to the defense as part of the grand jury record. We're going to skip the law arguments around it. And we'll start right here under this argument. DM's phone records contained in Exhibit S1 for November 13, 2022, and BF's testimony contained in Exhibit S2 as to what DM told her should be allowed. So these are only records from DM's phone that they're asking to introduce. And what they're asking to introduce is not records from BF's phone, but BF's testimony as to what DM told her should be allowed at trial. So now it's making things more understandable for me, because we've always wondered why BF's statements are not included in anything. Well, and that's because BF's statements are what they call hearsay. They're not what she actually seen and heard. They're statements of what she says that DM told her that she had seen and heard. So, obviously, if that's true, then the affidavit of BF seeing a man change into his underwear before he left is actually a hearsay statement made by DM to BF. And then BF told law enforcement that. And that's why we haven't heard anything more about it, because it was a hearsay statement about what DM had told her. So that tells me that not only did DM see this person carrying a vacuum cleaner, but she also watched him change into his underwear. So there is so much more to what this one here knows than meets the eye. I mean, it's very apparent. But it starts with in the case at bar on November 13th, 2022 at 2:10:29, this is AM, DM sends a text message to Eric Gower or Grower, whatever his name is. And a lot of people get stuck. It's an Uber driver. That's not what it's supposed to be. I believe they were just using the Uber driver as a description for what the guy does. I don't think that has any significance whatsoever. But to inquire if he's driving. Now, that means at 2:10, she's either looking to go out, inquiring if he's driving. And remember, it said she got home in the last document about 1:30. So she hadn't been home very long, where she's, contacting this Eric Grower to see if he's driving. Now, it doesn't say if he's driving right then. I'd love to see that message, because they didn't put it in here. Did she ask if he was driving around 4:30 by chance? If she did, then that would be a huge giveaway. But it also tells me that they didn't drive away from the house after the atrocity, even though they left. Now, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they left after this. But who drove them away? Was it this guy that drove them away? I don't know. We're gonna keep our eyes open though. All right. And it says DM was awake texting at 2:10. All right. Never says she went to sleep in any of this. Excuse me. But from 4:19:07 to 4:21:50, DM attempts to call BF. There is something missing right here, y'all. Maybe that said Bethany Funk and they just made it BF. That's probably what it was. But she attempts to call BF, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. All calls are unanswered. So she hadn't talked to any of them. She tried to call them, but hadn't talked to any of them. The prosecution's assumption is Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan are not answering because they are deceased. However, since BF also does not answer, does that imply she is deceased? So there can be no determination of if anything has happened at this point, just simply because she attempted to call all of these, and these three did not answer, because BF didn't answer either. And we know that BF is not deceased, so that cannot be a determination of everybody was already deceased at this point. That's just a determination of they didn't answer their phone. Then from 4:22 to 4:24, DM and BF send the following text messages. Now, wait just a minute. From 4:22:08 to 4:24:27. So she stops dialing all of everybody up here at 4:21:50. So that means within, 4:21:50, that's 4:21:50 to 4:22:08. That's 18 seconds. All right, so 18 seconds after she tried to call everybody, then she texts BF. And listen to the way that she talks to BF versus the way that she talks to Kaylee. No one is answering. To BF, I'm really confused right now. She doesn't ask what's going on to BF. She says, no one's answering. I'm really confused right now. Then she texts Kaylee. Kaylee, what's going on? See how these are two different types of questions? Kaylee, what's going on? BF, no one's answering. I'm really confused right now. Totally different types of questions she's asking BF than she's asking Kaylee. And then BF responds. Yeah, dude, what the F? BF to DM. Xana was wearing all black. Now, wait a minute. 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 She attempts to call BF, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. Nobody answers their phone. So 18 seconds later, she starts texting. She texts BF and she texts Kaylee. Nothing in here says anything about there's a guy wearing black or I've just seen a guy or anything like that. The message that she responds to was Xana was wearing all black, like she already knew somehow that there was somebody wearing all black that DM had seen. Well, how does she know that right here? Because it hadn't been said. She hadn't even been talked to. According to this line of text, this is the first time that she's even responding. Yeah, dude, what the F? Next message is Xana was wearing all black. This is proof of staging, y'all. She hasn't mentioned a guy in black at all at this point. She shouldn't know to even compare that Xana was wearing all black. She shouldn't even know how to answer that message. Then DM says, I'm freaking out to BF. No, it's like ski mask almost. Again, what are you talking about? It's like ski mask almost. You haven't even told her you've seen anything at this point. What kind of crap is this that we're expected to believe? And then, now she's kind of getting the gist of it from these messages. I don't know how. Shut the F up. Actually, actually wearing a mask? Who? You hadn't told her anything. How do you know who's wearing a mask? What do you mean, actually? DM to BF. Who had? You hadn't told her about any person. He had something over his head and little in mouth. BF, I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out. What are you freaked out? What did she do? What did she read something into these texts that any normal person in the world can't read into it? You haven't said anything to make you freaked out. Oh, now she says, so am I. Well, what are you freaked out about? She hadn't told you anything. My phone is going to die. F. Come to my room. Run down here. Okay, what's the big deal? You haven't been told anything yet, BF, so how do you even know all of this? There's nothing in any of these texts that mention anything about her seeing a man, so how would BF know what she's referring to, and why would she be freaking out also? So am I. She's freaking out also, huh? Now, wait a minute. All of these little texts go back and forth, and they stop at 4:24:27. Last thing she says is run, come to my room, run down here at 4:24:27. So we have to assume that she does what she tells her to, and she runs down there, right? Because at 4:27, she runs down there, then none of this makes sense if that happened. DM's grand jury testimony, where she indicates just witnessed a startling event, where she indicates she just witnessed a startling event. The startling event is heard noises and saw an unknown male in the residence. The declarations indicate both BF and DM are trying to make sense of the startling event. You mean lie about it? Because she didn't convey anything about the startling event to BF. So how would she know even what she's talking about to be startled about? So yeah, you want to admit this stuff into testimony? Good luck with that. But let's continue now. Remember, she runs down to BF's room at 4:24:27. So 12 seconds later, 12 seconds, y'all, at 4:24:39, DM calls Ethan, and he doesn't answer. So I don't know, but looking at that house, I think it would take roughly about 12 seconds for her to run down and get in BF's room. And I guess the second she gets in there and shuts the door, she dials Ethan. He doesn't answer. And DM and BF continue to text at 4:24:58. Oh, so she didn't run down to her room. Now they're just continuing to text. So at 4:24:39, 12 seconds after BF says, come to my room, run down here. Instead of running down there, she calls Ethan. Now, Ethan doesn't answer. And then 19 seconds later, at 4:24:58, she texts BF again. Well, she didn't let that phone ring too much for him not to answer, did she? 19 seconds between dialing him and texting BF. So that is not a real call, is it? She texts BF, "I'm screwed though." What are you screwed about? I mean, why are you screwed? What's going on? Responds at 4:25:16. So within 18 seconds of her texting, "I'm screwed though," she responds, "Yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone." Yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone. I can only assume that she's saying, "Yeah, you're screwed because, yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone." So she's saying, "I'm screwed though," because she's up there in her room by herself. And she says, "Yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone. Come to my room." Absolutely no sense. But that was at 4:25:16. Then at 4:27:47, then we have to assume, at least at this point, that she's gone to BF's room. DM calls Kaylee, and nobody answers. Let's see, 4:27:47. So 53 seconds later, she calls Kernodle. At least she let that one ring long enough. These are not statements. And then 4 minutes later, she sends a text to Kaylee stating, "Please answer." So 4:27, she calls Kaylee and she doesn't answer. She calls Kernodle and she doesn't answer. And then she sends a text to Kaylee. And that's the last thing that they do. I guess they just go to sleep after that. Now, why is DM the only one calling and texting everybody, though? She's obviously in her room at this time. They obviously both have phones. Why isn't BF worried about calling and texting any of the other people? Why is the only record showing up on Dylan's phone? Then, according to them, they went to sleep, 4:32:57. Calls Kernodle, 4:32:57, sends a text message. She sends a text message to Kaylee stating, "Please answer" at 4:32:57. Let's remember that. 4:32:57. The next morning, DM sends the following text messages starting at 10:23:23. All right, so now we're expected to believe that they went to sleep and now they woke up at 10:23. Remember, they don't call 911 until 11:58. So an hour and a half later after she wakes up. She wakes up and she texts Kaylee, "Please answer." And then she texts Mogan, "Are you up?" And then Kaylee, "Please answer." Now, is she only texting Kaylee and Mogan because it doesn't say anything about texting Ethan or Xana? Is it no calls or text to Ethan or Xana? Is that because DM was told Xana was the only target, not knowing Maddie's parents were informants also? Wasn't expecting that to happen to them? I don't know. We can only assume at this point. But then at 11:39, DM has a text exchange with her father, Brent Mortensen. Brent M., what was this exchange and why is it not listed? Why is what she texted her father not listed in all of these text messages that you're producing on everybody else? Why is the text that she texts to Eric Grauer not produced like you're producing everything else? Defense, in your response to this, please, since they wanted to open the door to this, list what they said in those messages. These statements are not hearsay, and they will not be introduced for the truth of the matter asserted, but instead to show a timeline of the morning. Why would you want to show this timeline, prosecution? Are you dumb? Then at 11:55, still hasn't dialed 911. She receives a text message from Jay stating, "Bro." All right, there's a lot of J's in this case. This text message will not be introduced for truth or matter asserted at 11:58. This is 3 seconds later. After she gets the bro, she calls EA. This phone record is not a statement pursuant to RE 801. This is not a statement pursuant to RE 801A. I need to look that up. DM receives a text message from J at 11:51:01. All right, so J texts bro at 11:58. Oh, excuse me, 11:55. She gets the text from J stating bro. 3 seconds later, she calls EA. 3 seconds. And then she calls EA at 11:58. 11:51:01. She receives a text message from Jay. So 3 seconds later, after she dials, look at this, 11:55, she receives a text message. 11:58, she dials this person. 11:51:01, 3 seconds later, she receives another text from Jay. All right, so you can bet this was all pre-planned because she's already discussed what she needs to do with her father. So this is all pre-planned. They've already, they probably went and spent the night after this happened with Jay and EA, in my opinion, and they've already planned this out because within 6 seconds, we have 3 things happen right here, and then you get a vandal alert at 104. So this was their plan. Jay sends the text. She'd been waiting on it. Second she gets the text, she calls EA. Jay sends another text. They planned it out, but they weren't smart enough to let time elapse between the 3. Now, am I saying that Jay is guilty and EA is guilty? No, but I'm saying I firmly believe that DM and BF left King Road residence right before 4:30, probably went to their house, stayed there until they started figuring out, what to do because they were told, don't dial 911 by the assailants. That is my humble opinion. John Judge has previously ruled the text messages and statements of DM and BF are present sense impressions and excited utterances, holding both the text messages and the testimony of BF as to what DM told her. Again, that's what she testified to, what DM told her. Yeah, so so that's where we're at. Let me take a look at this real quick. All right, 4:32:57 when she texts Gonzalez, please answer. Okay, I'm going to start this Linda Lane footage from the exact second, 4:33. Let's see, 4:33 or 4:32:57, and we'll run it till we see this car go by and see if it adds up. Okay, so here's 1330 Linda Lane. You see the clock down here, 4:33, 46. There it is right there, 4:33:46. It drives by. Does that add up with the other data? Okay, so the last text message was made to Kaylee from DM at 4:32:57. If you take this point right here at the King Road residence and you calculate it out to that spot on Linda Lane, it's exactly 958 feet at 25 miles per hour. That would take 27 seconds to drive from there to there. We see that vehicle pass the Linda Lane camera at 4:33:46. So a difference of 20 seconds. So if we estimate that it took them 20 seconds to run out and jump in the car, start it up, back out, and get on that path, then I believe we've just proved that that vehicle that just drove past Linda Lane is one, if not both, of the roommates. Bam. no doubt in my mind now that either one or both of the roommates left that residence, and we just seen them drive across Linda Lane. But here's the other thing. If that's true, and I don't see how anybody could say that that's not the case now. I mean, we just timed it down to the second. So if that's true, well, then that means that they've lied about a tremendous amount of things. When I say they, I mean the roommates in this case. That means that all of those text messages were absolutely pre-planned and staged the next morning, which also, if they're going to pre-plan and stage text messages the next morning, that means the ones that they pre-planned and staged the night before are just as likely to be pre-planned as staged. If you lie once, you'll lie throughout. So, and the other thing is, when looking at the messages, it's clear as day that nothing was said to BF from DM to indicate that she had seen a guy or anything. So those messages that were passed back and forth obviously tells on themselves. I mean, BF knew what she was talking about from a message that says, why isn't anybody answering the phone? Oh, well, Xana was wearing black. Well, I'm scared. Why are you scared? Well, because he had a mask on covering his mouth and face. Ooh, I'd be scared too. Run, get down here now. What? No, she didn't tell her anything. There's nothing in there that says she told her anything about the person, but she knew. Travesty. I'll keep working on this stuff for you folks. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms. Until next time, Pavarotti's out.
Fly away. It's the first time of today.